Yeah, actually, I have a full plan, and it's going to be great. And uh, covered pre-podcast, we talked about Andrew. Please show your mug. That if you do art
Yes.
long enough, you will. That is the big. I think everyone on your artistic timeline, eventually you just get one of these mugs. I don't know why. Like,
It's true. Like you have to have like a sort of
yeah,
handmade, uh, unique
and a
kind of
handmade,
mug.
unique, but like stone colored. It has to be a very specific. Oh, I
Exactly.
love
Yeah. Like
it.
kind of like ceramic mug, sort
Yeah, it
of.
has to be ceramic. It has to have like a level of like handmadeness that you can tell. Maybe the you
Exactly.
can't you can't put it in a dishwasher, and that's gonna make you mad for
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
rest of your life. And I'll be honest, I avoided it for years.
Mhm.
I would not I wouldn't buy I don't buy mugs. I'm against the idea of buying mugs.
Mhm.
Because I think the world just has enough mugs. We could stop making mugs for years. I think I might have
Oh
covered this.
yeah. No, no, I mean like if like in the apocalypse, I mean that will be one thing that there will not be a shortage of.
So you go, it's one of the few things like you go to like a Goodwill and there's still like it's 50 cents and you can buy a pretty fun mug for 50 cents every single time. And like I don't think I'm helping the world doing this, but I just don't think we need to buy mugs. But eventually, even I
Mhm.
got the mug. Like I did.
Exactly.
I broke down one day and I was like, this is it. This is the day you get your mug.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but I mean, this is definitely not the only one that I
Oh
have.
no, this is the we get. Well, my wife has one. But this is
Right.
my
Okay.
first. This is I finally I got.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now that I have one, I'm like,
That,
yeah,
yeah,
don't need to use the dishwasher ever again.
exactly.
So wait one second.
All right.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Brandon.
Boom. So yeah, we're taking a week off from Zodiac. There you go. Because we've been. You still haven't found the tripod, and it's amazing that it just says God now.
It's
It's
yeah,
a powerful metaphor. It's a powerful visual metaphor.
yeah, with chocolate underneath.
God, Master P, chocolate. It's really
It's
stuff
perfect.
to really take apart. There, just so you know, that was on purpose. We are hiding symbols. We
Oh,
want to
totally. Yeah.
find things, figure out what's going on in the background of my mess. Um, which I'm going to close this door real quick for better sound. So, here's the thing I want to talk. So, opening day in baseball, which I work in, was today, and I think it's interesting because one of the things that's interesting in like you get all this build up, like opening day of baseball is a mess. Like it's just a mess. You're trying to get all this paperwork done, and there's this sort of heightened. It's got to be great, but like the job, my boss was pointing out, the job of opening day more than anything else, and we've talked about this a lot, but I think it's interesting that we can see it in other stuff, is to get to the end of it is life and
Mhm.
livelihood. You want to
Mhm.
walk away with your life. You want to walk away staying alive, and you don't want to get fired.
Yeah.
And just making me look a little bit nicer. So I think that's such a good metaphor for like art is just get it on the page, get it done. And it was interesting because like you really want to like you want to. It's opening day, and on some level, for some people, it's memorialized, not memorialized, but like elevated, right? It's it's opening day. You only have an opportunity to make a first impression once, and
Mhm.
that's great. But also, you have to deal with the reality of you haven't done this in 6 months,
Mhm.
and you are, and there's new stuff being added, and stuff is breaking down, and we're trying to figure out how all this works while this thing is going on. And I found it really kind of refreshing,
Mhm.
and sort of like, oh, I know this one. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is like you have to you have to really like let things go, especially if it's starting a sequence of things. If you got
Mhm.
66 games in front of you and you this is your first game, you're not going to be able you can't put all your money in the first game. But
Mhm.
then I thought I have a buddy of mine who friend of the show, Dave Piccolomini, I don't feel bad. He's writing a very good pilot right now. He's working on a pilot. I'll go
Mhm.
as far as that. I don't think that's blowing his stuff up.
Okay.
And we were having a discussion about when
Well, we
like
are a very influential podcast,
we
so
are
we should be careful what we say. I mean,
sometimes. up to 50 people watch
Yeah,
this.
exactly. So those 50 people might, spread the word. We don't want to get like too crazy here.
Yeah, I don't want to get it. But no, he's working on a piece. He's working
Yeah.
on a
Okay.
piece that might end up being more.
I mean
And one
that's
of the things,
exciting. That's very cool.
yeah, it's very cool. And
Yeah.
it's great, but I had a discussion with him, and I think I sort of said the opposite to him when it comes to this pilot
Mhm.
is in my opinion, and I could be wrong. Like I could be wrong. I haven't written a pilot, but on some level, you probably should put in every good idea you have in your pilot because that's the only thing people are gonna see in a lot of ways. Like
Mm.
it's the only like you can't go, oh, we're gonna do that in 5 episodes. We're gonna do that. Well, you don't really have a guarantee of 5 episodes down the line. All
Mm.
you have is this thing in people's hands, and it's interesting that I disagree with myself
Mm.
in that within the same hours of each other. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Well, I mean, when we're talking specifically about a pilot, I guess if I'm comparing it to like shows that I like,
Mm,
um, it's uh um I guess it depends on like what you mean, like putting everything in. I think that in the sense that it probably is a more cutthroat business, I would say. And but with shows that I like, I don't I think they actually kind of go with your first premise in the sense that they don't give away too much. Like they give away enough to keep you interested, and there's enough, little cliffhangers or introductions to characters and things like that. But I
huh?
mean, but this is also a little out of my depth because I'm not. I mean, I write, but I'm not a writer, I would say. And
Well,
but I guess just on an artistic level, I don't know. I'm a little discombobulated right now. So
okay, I know. You
yeah,
walked in and thought we were going to talk about Easter eggs, and I was like,
yeah,
"We need to do
exactly.
the show." Well,
So,
I have a legit question that I'm always interested in.
okay,
You've seen people's auditions, and you've seen,
yeah, okay.
and there is a skill thing at an audition that you just want, but there's
Mhm.
also the artistic side of an audition. And
Yeah.
what do you want to see in an audition? Do you want to see the toughest thing that
Okay.
gets
Okay.
those, or do you want to see where they can grow? What do you want in an audition for?
Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's a little bit more in my wheelhouse, I would say.
Boom, back in your wheelhouse. Boom, drive that.
Yeah. But okay, so it even there it kind of depends. I think it depends on what the audition is. So if you're talking about um like an audition for college or something like that, then I think um talent is part of it depending on like which college it is or what the event is or that kind of thing. That's part of it. But I think the ability to grow and the ability to listen and the personality, that's that might even be more important. I would say it's at least half as important and possibly even more than half as important. Um, because what the purpose of going to study with somebody is to grow, and so if you're not going to have that connection or make that have that compatibility to work together, and if they're not going to have the ability to or the interest, in listening to you or the interest in growing, then that's going to be a problem, obviously. So but if it's an audition for something that's like a performance,
Mhm,
then I think there's a higher emphasis probably placed on, okay, what is their talent level right now?
mhm.
Because I mean, if they're going to get on stage in a month or a week or a day or whatever, then there's not there's more of a importance, I think, on just, okay, what can you do now, and how much are we going to be able to accomplish if we have rehearsals for a month, how much are we going to be able to get done,
Mhm.
so I think it partly depends on like what the situation is.
So have you had like a good audition experience that you've done or a bad one? Have you
For
particularly
me personally,
yeah, for you?
like like being the person who is
Yeah.
auditioning.
The other side of the table.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely I've had both, definitely both good and bad.
Would you like to
um
share with the class, or is that like that secret that you hold in your heart?
No, I'm trying to think if there's like any disaster stories. Let me think about it for a second. But
I feel like
while I'm thinking,
yeah.
you can tell me what your
I don't
experience
think
with
I've
that
ever
is.
had a great audition. I'm gonna be honest. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever walked out of a space and been like, I nailed it. I always walk out of a space where I was like, well, that went better in my car. But I also like I feel like I've had auditions where I walked out and I was like, or like art, trying to get my work done and went, well, that's not, you're not getting it. You like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that, like, yeah, this is not it. But I don't think I've had anything so bad. I wouldn't be able to show my face afterwards, which I think
Mhm.
is important, especially when you're always expecting when you try out for stuff that there's going to be the story of like the worst, and
Mhm.
then I burped so hard I threw up in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But like that's not what happens ever. You know what I mean? More often
Mhm.
than not, you go, yeah, and then I knew I did not do as well as I had hoped, and that's you can deal with that pain. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I feel like I wish someone said audition hell stories happen, and they're great. They're really nice. But like, because when they do happen, you're like, oh man, they hated me, and
Yeah.
that's something to bite into, and then you could tell them where it's at, and that's
Mhm.
important too. That's spite can get you a long way. If all else fails, find spite, find someone to be mad at, and move and use that
Yeah.
not in your first go to, but
Mhm.
eventually. That's a good reason, man. That's a good reason. It can only get you so far, but that's then switch it over to like love of craft and people and whatever. But until
Mhm.
you find that, do it out of hate.
Mhm. I mean, it's still an emotion. It's still an important emotion,
Oh
and
yeah,
if it's going to be motivational, then
yeah. Like you gotta, even if your enemies are imaginary, if
Mhm.
if what if you got to do it to tell them, then
Yeah,
do it to tell them. That's fine.
yeah. Although it's interesting you say that because I watched this episode. I don't know if you watched the show Ted Lasso or not.
I hear it's great.
Yeah. We don't have to get into it right now, but it is a very good show. It's also a very good show that I think is made more good because of the pandemic and like when it came around and and stuff like that because it's a very kind of lighthearted show and the main character is great. But anyway, that's not important. The we can have another episode about Ted Lasso.
This is
The-
now a Ted Lasso review
right, exactly.
podcast. I'm
We'll do another side project to do a Ted
Ted
Lasso
Lasso watch
rewatch.
along. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Nixon. Okay, fine. This is a
But
yes and group. Fine.
yeah.
Fine.
Anyway, the reason I'm being so now is because last night, when I got home at 2 in the morning, I put on a net whatever station whatever fucking
Your
oh my
Apple
god.
Plus. Yeah, your Apple Plus. Get your streaming
All
services
right.
right.
Yes, exactly. All right. See, I'm still tired from.
Yeah, you're still.
All right. I went to bed at 3 in the morning. It's only like 10 o'clock right now. It's almost 11. Okay, but that's
Yeah,
still.
it's almost. It's like 10 o'clock. It's 11. I'm sorry that you had a late night, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you partied too hardy.
All right. Yeah. This
I
is
was
getting off
I
the
was
rails.
yeah.
What was the
That's
whole point? I don't even remember the whole
I
point I
don't
was
know.
making now at this
I
point.
was doing okay, and
Yeah.
then you looked me in the face and you were like, I'm Ted Lasso is a TV show. I don't know what it's on. I'm weirdly mad at you for some reason. Spite is overrated. I've never had a bad audition.
All right. Okay, so all right, the reason I brought that up is because what you were saying about using anger as motivation.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, last night in the episode that I watched, uh he not Ted Lasso, but one of the other coaches tried to use an anger motivational technique, and it all went sideways. Because yeah, basically they were getting a bunch of red cards. They were getting like they were fouling. They were doing all this like all this and it basically like the anger took over, and so they weren't able to perform the way that they could, if they were at their best or like at their best mental state. So that was the whole point I was making. So sometimes it can kind of work in reverse, but I think a lot of it depends again kind of on the situation, like on what um who you are and like what the situation is. I mean, like sometimes because I've definitely been in situations where anger can be motivational, but I've also been in the situation where sometimes it's not it doesn't help me perform at my best. So I don't know.
I would like to clarify. I don't know if I said this. I don't think anger is a powerful emotion, and it's a salty emotion, and I mean
Yeah.
that physically in the fact that you can't taste much else around it.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
overpowering. It's an internal thing. This is not something you don't drop. I'm obsessed with Doritos. Let me finish. Um, because nothing in nature tastes like Doritos.
Mhm.
There's no one to one. When you eat a Dorito, your brain does stuff that it doesn't. It's There's a book called The Dorito Effect. That's why.
Mm.
So like when you eat a Dorito, your brain doesn't know. It's like it's so salty and this and that, and
Mm.
it's so your brain doesn't know how to deal with Doritos on some level, right?
Yeah.
Like it's more than anything we are regularly tasting. We've spent years developing the
Yeah.
Dorito, and it is bigger and better and cheesier and savorier and crunchier, and it
Mhm.
hits all these spots in your brain that can't naturally go there. Anger is a Dorito feeling. It's a
Mm.
Dorito feeling,
Mm.
and it is easy to feel Doritos. It is
Yeah.
easy to feel anger. I think that's one of the things when we talk about an addiction to anger is it's easy, and I speak for myself personally too. It's easy to feel anger, and it
Mhm.
is so loud it can actually block out scarier feelings like sadness and regret and loss. Anger is so loud that it
Yeah.
can block all that out, and that
Exactly.
it is that's useful but also very dangerous because it is so loud and so hard to control and so addicting, and it feels like the thing you have to tell yourself, and it's hard to admit this, is it feels real good to be angry. Like
Yeah.
it feels great. Righteous indignation is amazing. It's
Mm.
the I am To be wronged is to feel the feeling of being wronged and needing to be proven right. It can be a very dangerous thing. Now,
Mhm.
there are larger problems as well. I'm only speaking about the personal, of course, but
Mm.
like I think there is a thing you have to check in with where like that feeling can be really dangerous, and it can also be very useful, but it's so loud that it's bleach. It's gonna take out every color. It's
Mhm.
gonna clean the stain, but it's also gonna take out every color in the shirt. Like
Mhm.
it's a powerful thing. These are good
Yeah.
mugs. You get your mug. Get your mug. It
Oh yeah.
matches my shirt. I know I pointed it out. Like, oh, yours matches your shirt too. That's not good.
Kind of, yeah.
That's
Part of it
weird.
is.
The top part.
The top part.
That's a
See,
weird.
see, that's what happens. Not only do you get a mug, but you also start living a life
Yeah.
that that you become one with the mug,
You
you
just
know.
start
So
you start wearing whatever mug you get. Just
exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting because you don't see these in bright red. That's not a natural color.
Nope, nope, nope. Mm-mm.
You can get like a stone red, but bright red, you got to be
Yeah.
careful with that. That's bright
Terra.
red.
Yeah, like terraform red, Terra red, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I love that
Yeah.
color, but it's really hard to bake into stuff. And you got to
Yeah,
think that's a Dorito color, and that's the color of anger.
that's right.
Powerful stuff this week.
That's right. All right. Bye, everybody. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Even
Hey,
though it's like 3 or 4 weeks later. Happy Easter.
yeah, it's gonna be no, it's just gonna be 2 weeks later because we have one
Peace.
more and then this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Peace.